Hello, this is World One, live from London. I'm Monita Rajpal.
And I'm Zain, Verjee. Here are our top stories this hour.
The United Nations says the world must speak as one on Libya. Ban Ki-moon was addressing the Arab League in Egypt, where emergency talks are being held. The Arab League has criticized the coalition's operation in Libya, saying it has gone too far. Meanwhile, in Tripoli, an airstrike has hit and destroyed a building in the heart of the Libyan leader's compound. The coalition military official says the target was a Libyan forces command and control center. Analysis on this with Verjee. He's a professor of international relations at the London School of Economics. Thank you very much for being with us, Fawaz. First of all, what is the situation? Let's talk a little bit about what the Arab League has been doing right now. It's almost as if they're throwing a spanner in the works. Are they throwing a spanner in the works?
They're getting cold feet. You've seen Amr Moussa in the last few days. Well, we accepted a no-fly zone, but we have never said yes for massive bombing of Libya, for the potential of civilian casualties, for the escalation of the coalition goals. This is the reality. Arab television, Arab viewers now have been exposed to 2 days of bombings, and you're going to see.
But they knew what they were getting into, because the Security Council 1973, Resolution 1973 said by all necessary means to protect the civilians. They're not talking about ground troops, they're talking about protecting civilians.
Absolutely. And Amr Moussa is not an ignorant person. He's a very seasoned politician. But the reality is, you have a public opinion in the Arab world, and Amr Moussa has presidential, as you know, ambitions. He realizes that the massive bombing of Libya, that the escalation...
We'll just have to hold it on for if you could just stand by for us, Fawaz. Let's go to Ivan Watson in Cairo. We had heard that the Arab League had that news conference there with the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Ivan Watson's joining us again. Now, Ivan, tell us a little bit more about what was said in that news conference and where the Arab League stands at this point.
Well, we
want to take a look at what world newspapers are saying about the story. In the United Arab Emirates, The National has the headline, "Gaddafi knows how to spoil the coalition's best intentions." The paper says, if the regime survives the shock and awe of the initial foreign intervention, the Western powers that are running the campaign will find themselves locked in to a power and more complex war than they intended. Well, in the UK, the Independent's headline is, "Even if Mad Dog flees, the war is still not won." In a guest editorial for the paper, analyst Shashank Joshi writes, the intervening powers face a terrible choice between prolonged containment of a reckless and teetering despot on the one hand and a hazardous push for regime change on the other. Each option brings grave humanitarian and strategic risks. And in Turkey, today's Zaman has a headline, "Odyssey Twilight." The paper says the conflict may develop in all possible directions and, worst of all, may be long-lasting and divisive. It is clear that while France has not much to lose in the gamble, the U.S. does. Watching World One live from London, demonstrations in southern Syria took a deadly turn on Sunday. One person was killed in clashes between protesters and government forces. Sunday was the third day of violence in Syria, where people are taking to the streets to demand more political and economic freedom. We want to get more on the situation. Then let's go to Mohammed Jamjoon in Abu Dhabi. And Mohammed, before we go to the story there in Syria, I want to talk to you a little bit about Yemen. We heard that the UN Secretary General there in Cairo commenting on Yemen, commenting on the appeal to all concerned to make sure that there's all exercise maximum restraint. What more do we know about the situation there in Yemen?
Well, Monita, some news just for the last few minutes. We've heard now there are 2 top generals in Yemen, commanders with the military, that have joined the protest movement just a short while ago.
Watching World One live from London, Japanese police have come out with another grim assessment. They fear at least half of the more than 13,000 people missing are now dead. The latest figures we can give you are 8,649 people dead. There are reports power cables have now been connected to all 6 nuclear reactors at Japan's damaged Fukushima power plant. The news agency Reuters says the number 3 and 4 reactors were the last 2 to be hooked up. But about an hour ago, workers had to be evacuated after smoke was seen coming out of one reactor. Authorities had been making some headway in cooling the fuel rods down. More than 1,000 tons of water were sprayed over them in the past day. To make matters worse for people in the region, food supplies are now under threat. Japan is restricting the sale of food from the area around the plant after tests showed high radiation levels in spinach and milk. Well, Anna Korn is monitoring the situation for us from CNN Tokyo. She joins us now live with the latest on that. Anna.
Monita, authorities thought they were making headway on all 6 reactors, stabilizing them until late this afternoon, about 4 p.m. They saw smoke coming from reactor 3. That, of course, has been...
Shows just how minute by minute this story continues to unfold and change. Anna Korn there in Tokyo, thank you for that. The United States, one of the biggest corporate merger deals of the year, is coming together. AT&T has agreed to buy T-Mobile USA, currently a part of Germany's Deutsche Telekom, for a whopping $39 billion. The 2 new partners still need regulators to give their approval. Analysts say that might be difficult since the merger reduces the number of competitors in the U.S. market.
One live from London, I'm Zain Verjee.
And I'm Monita Rajpal. Thank you for joining us.